At the end of the day, it's meant to solve for saving time. And when you get to save time in your work, you actually get to increase the value of what you do. You get to be there presently. You get to work on the higher level things that you need to work on, not waste time doing manual work repetitively where, you have something that can do that for you. You actually get to do the job that you need to do.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
Welcome to Finances, your home for all things financial, investment, money and lifestyle. Hosted and curated by the very talented team of certified financial planners, Burke, Britton Financial Partners. This is episode number 115 of the Finances podcast. Now today's, when did we meet, Eden? A couple of weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
About a month ago, yeah.
A month ago, okay. So, I've introduced you already, but today's guest is Eden Pearson. Eden is one of our IT administrators at our current IT service provider, which is Utilitise IT. You and I, Eden, had a conversation a month ago when you're in here. We were talking sort of all things technology, cybersecurity, Bitcoin. And I think Amy might have said, actually, you guys should actually have this conversation on the podcast. So, mate, thanks for making the time to come and have a chat.
Absolutely.
Now, I wasn't quite sure exactly where we'd take the conversation today, mate, but for those people who have listened to the podcast before, any guest on for the first time, I like to get a bit of a backstory up to where we are today. Also, I wanted to touch a little bit on, like from a business point of view, just how much the world of IT and security has evolved and why it's so important that we've got great relationships, not only as a business but for our clients. And then we can talk Bitcoin, we can talk whatever you like, mate, music. Let's see where it goes. So, Eden, tell us a bit about yourself, mate. Where'd you grow up? Where'd you go to school?
So I grew up in Sydney, in the bush. It wasn't fun.
Where's the bush in Sydney?
So Barara, so very north of Sydney, right off the Central Coast. We rode mountain bikes, and that's about it. Did dirt jumps, that's all we did.
What was there to do out there? Nothing?
Not much. Get up to Mischief, go to the skate park.
Oh, so there's a skate park. So
There was a skate park, but nothing good went on there.
Was there were you on acreage, or was it...
No.
So but it was in...
Surrounded by bush, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And then age 12, 13, moved down to Geelong, which was a massive move. Went into Bellarine Secondary College.
Why did you move to Geelong?
Geelong's a beautiful place. I think a lot of people take for granted what Geelong is. And I always say Geelong is literally a city by the water, 4 hours from the snow, an hour from the best surf beaches in the world. People get annoyed at the weather, but I'm like, well, you can't have the light without dark. So I think...
And an hour from the city if you want to go to the shows or the sport.
An hour from the most livable city in the world, apparently. So, apparently. It's it's a perfect spot. But, we stumbled upon Geelong. My family moved down. So mum and dad and then the three younger sisters. Bellarine Secondary College is the school I went to. I had a bit of a rough time in school. I don't think school at that time of my life was something that helped me excel or grow. So I dropped out at the start of year 11 to pursue a career in electrical, so to become an electrician. Did a year of my electrical apprenticeship, lost it in COVID. And I just took time after that to figure out what I actually wanted to do. At that point in time, I kind of woke up and realised, hey, I dropped out of school, but I actually have a lot of untapped potential that I could make use of and I could actually do something with, and I didn't want to waste my life away sitting around thinking what I could have done or settling for anything less than that. So I took some time to find my why, which I believe is the most important thing. I didn't, fall into anything. I had to strategically think, what can I give this world? What value can I provide? And what do I think I want to do that will provide the most value?
Did you have a sense at school? You said that school wasn't great, but did you have any idea what you thought you might want to do? Like, what did your parents do? What were the influences around you in terms of like business, work? They
weren't really there at all. My dad has an alright job, but day to day, that's what he just does his job. He's a bus driver. He's done a few different things, but a credit to him is he actually loved electrical, which made me fall in love with electrical. And as a kid, I was making these little circuits. I was doing all sorts of dangerous things.
So do electronics at school?
A little bit, but it wasn't. There wasn't any freedom to it at all.
Was there a subject called electronics at school?
No, it was just in science.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when I was at high school, we had there was literally a subject, electronics. You were doing little I don't know, boards.
Maybe what a
circuit
school. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
But I loved that. I loved creating, and I loved building, and I loved coming up with ideas. When I was 13, I was building. It's a bit dangerous, but a little flamethrower glove at 13, and all these dangerous...
Is that what, a flamethrower glove?
At 13, I built a flamethrower glove, a little flamethrower that was on a glove.
Okay.
Yeah, so just all wild things. But I had a massive imagination, and I don't think school encaptured that at all. So when I left school and I, lost my electrical apprenticeship, and, there wasn't much to do in COVID, there was a lot of time to think, and I'd realised I'd lost this imagination and I never tapped into any of the potential. So I just spent time thinking, what can I do that's going to provide value? So in that time, I spent all my time trying to learn different things, trying to figure out, what it was for me. I went through a few different ideas on what to do, but I eventually settled on technology. And my reasoning for that is technology is going to be the biggest thing in the future, bar none. It's what will take us into the future. So
what gave you? This might sound to you, it might sound like a silly question, but what gave you the thought that technology would take over the future? That this is the place that you should be?
Well, obviously finance is very important with this because everything's backed by finance, but the technology itself is, I grew up in technology, not so much when I was a kid, I was late to it. I didn't get a phone till 14, and I know you're going to laugh at this, but it was a little brick phone, not the bricks you may have had, but...
I just thought about buying my kids a brick phone so that they can't use a smartphone.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea at all. But I grew up in the world of, the emerging internet, and I saw it get bigger and bigger and bigger and become instrumental in the lives of everyone. That was my upbringing. And then I just, had this light bulb moment where I was like, this is the way. Like, this is what's going to give the most value to people. I think there's an argument that it's hurt people, but I think it's a net positive for society, and I think it can be. And my idea and my hope is to be the type of person that has the ability to be a part of that journey with everyone else, bringing sustainable technology solutions, in IT at the moment. I don't know where that will be in 10 years' time, but to the world, to people, to help people's lives. That's the core goal of everything.
So you had that realisation during COVID, you had some downtime. What did you do? What was your next step? So were you at home at this stage?
So my parents had moved to Queensland for a year, then they came back, made a mistake moving to Queensland. It wasn't the paradise they thought it would be.
To retire or to...
Just to move there, to get away from Geelong.
Yep.
And I told them, I said, Geelong is amazing, you'll want to come back, and they came back. So I'd moved out with a friend for that period of time, moved back at home. It's easy to be distracted when you have no set aim or goal. So at this point it was an idea, and I hadn't encaptured the idea and turned it into a measurable goal, but that came down the line sooner.
So what was it? What was the next step? So what did you do? Because you're studying now, aren't you?
I'm studying now. It took a while to get into. So, obviously I dropped out of high school. So to get into uni was, I got rejected from Deakin because they looked at my background and they were just like, you dropped out of high school. Sorry. Despite having good references for it too. So
how long did it take? How long did that? Because this is, I know it's a bit of a side note, but I know that there's massive pressure put on kids in high school to get, an ATAR, and that it's the only entry point for them. Well, that's how it feels. It's their only entry point into further education. Yet I think the reality, you said it's hard. It'll be interesting to understand how hard it was. But my view with that for kids is that, I mean, experiences are more important than whatever ATAR they actually receive, and that there's plenty of opportunity to actually get back into further education. There's different pathways, and maybe it's a little bit more difficult, but you're probably a perfect example of someone that finished at year 11.
Yeah.
And are now doing
I didn't even finish year 11.
Okay.
It was the start of year 11. So, I gave myself the hardest possible hand to get in. But I was going to say the uni I got into was online, and I got in straight away. No questions asked. So if you want to do it, I honestly think, if you have a set career and you know what you want to do, then yes, do it. But if you don't, then the most important thing is figuring out what you actually want to do and why you want to do it too. Because then you just go in, then you lock yourself into a course that you might later regret.
Yeah. And so your course, you're currently studying a Bachelor of Software Engineering. Is it majoring or an emphasis on AI?
Yeah, there's a strong emphasis on AI. So, I'm at the start of that, but I've been in the industry and I've been around it enough to, have a good step or footing so far. But my plan is to, I can talk to the high level stuff, but I want to have the ability to get more technical with it and more in depth, and that's where studying actually will help.
Yep. So when did you actually begin the bachelor degree?
So, I mean, I've started at the start of the year, and I did cybersecurity, and I had a bit of a rough time with uni because I was working full time and I was trying to study full time too, and I very soon realised that doesn't work. So I took a readjustment. I've readjusted now. I was like, I need to make sure what I'm doing is what I actually want to do. I found software engineering, I found the AI aspect of it, and I was like, okay, this is in line with what I want to do. So I made the adjustment, but I was working for 6 months plus before I ever, thought about, before I was ever in uni to begin with.
Was this at Utilitise or prior to that? So the gap between when you were doing your apprenticeship that fell over and when you actually started work at Utilitise, what was in between there?
There was a lot of different things. I worked at a liquor shop at Liquorland. I worked at a snowboard shop. And then I worked at the Wharf Shed Bar and Cafe on the waterfront in Geelong. So, but, from those experiences, I think the Wharf Shed was instrumental. It gave me the ability to talk to heaps of different people that came in, and it's not the best job in the world. It's not the funnest job in the. It's pretty fun when you're younger and you're going out with everyone. But what I did very quickly was I spoke to everyone I could, and I asked questions. And every time I worked an event, I had conversations with people, and just asked them questions, and just got as much context as I possibly could. And eventually, I ran into someone. I saw Utilitise had booked in, and that's how I eventually got the job.
They booked in for an event?
Yes. Okay. So it was a business partner of Stephen, who I spoke to, named Lisa. She's the head of Land on Heart, which is one of Steve's businesses, so the director of Utilitise.
Yes.
I spoke to her. She was lovely. She referred me to Steve. I went in for an interview, and I did a bit of work experience to get my footing and to kind of prove myself, and then I got the job. So I didn't need uni to do that. It's, you can kind of do a lot without having a higher education, and I almost encourage it's the better route to take.
Yeah, everything you say resonates with me. And we were just talking off air about sort of parenting and sort of my views on my family, and obviously Willow, my eldest, is just about to graduate from year 12. But the message, and you've said it beautifully then, is that the key is about actually being able to hold a conversation with someone, to be able to build relationships and build networks. I think that is easily, in my mind, like I would by far and away hire someone based upon their personality traits and their relationship, as opposed to whatever their ATAR score was or whatever degree they have. It's awesome. Like it's a great addition.
Oh, for sure.
I would 100% hire people upon personality, and that, I think it's lost on a lot of people, and that's why I try and emphasise it not only on the podcast but in my personal interactions with my own kids, is that relationships are everything, and you'll build a network of people that you actually have dealt with over time by doing jobs that maybe aren't great, but you get to be face to face with people. You get to be having conversations. And again, if you're proactive and actually thinking, shit, this is someone that I probably should be speaking to. This is someone that maybe I could, and not necessarily from a selfish point of view. I think one of the best things I've always tried to do in business is make sure that you connect other people together. Like maybe with no thought of it being of benefit to me, but to be a great connector of people and go, there's someone over here that could benefit from your services. That, if you can do that in life, it's a very, very valuable trait to have, and something that potential employers, friends, groups, they love it. They love people that are good connectors.
Well, I dare say it's a skill as well. It's a very valuable skill at that. And, talking to people is scary. Talking to people who know a lot more than you is also very scary as well. So, in that time where I just spoke to people, I was working at the bar and I was able to engage in these conversations. It taught me that, no one's judging you for going and talking to someone. No one is thinking little of you. And there's this great quote. It's like, I know you're going to laugh at who said this, David Goggins. He said...
no, I'm not going to laugh. I love David.
Yeah, he's great. He said, no one above you will speak little of you, along the lines of that. Yeah. No one who is doing better than you will ever put you down. They're always going to try and build you up. And that's what I learned as well. So, you go to seek knowledge from these people and from as many people as you can. I think it's an amazing thing. And along the way, you learn the skill of being able to talk to people, being able to, I think, more importantly, resonate with people as well. Yeah,
and I think, to your point, people actually don't care as much as you think they do. And what I mean by that is people aren't as concerned as you are about what you're doing or maybe how you're perceived. People are very self-interested. Like most of us are very self-interested and have our own shit going on. And that concern that a lot of us have about maybe getting out of our comfort zone, most of it exists in our head. And if you can get to that point where you worry less about what other people think of you, it's kind of liberating. Very liberating, and if you combine that with a degree of curiosity, if you're curious about people, about asking questions, and you care less about what people might be saying or might be thinking about you, it becomes almost a superpower, like to be able to progress through work and life and relationships.
Yeah, and if you take the path of the humble person who is willing to start from the bottom as well, that's, you get the most out of that, being able to say, I don't know this, not compensating for not knowing, but just saying, I don't know, let me learn. You can get a very long way.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that I enjoyed in our conversations, in our interactions with Utilitise and yourself, is that you've said that a bunch of times ago. Like you're obviously a very curious person. You're obviously a very relationship-focused person, and that comes across in all of your interactions. So you did a bunch of jobs. You put yourself out there. You got a gig with Utilitise. Let's talk a little bit about Utilitise. We better give the business a plug. Let's talk a little about who Utilitise are, what you do, and who you look after.
So Utilitise focuses on IT solutions with large enterprise experience and an abundance of different expertise as well, which I think is really important. We focus on helping small and medium businesses, and we look after large enterprise as well. But for small and medium businesses, their problem is they need to have their IT in order to actually grow, which is a very hard task. But to have one organisation come in with the experience of that larger enterprise background and expertise, we can come in and be that all-in-one solution. Especially with everything going on in the world today. Everyone's heard of cybersecurity. Everyone knows what that is. It's front of mind, AI as well. These things that most people know very little about when, they don't actually need to, when they have that all-in-one solution come in and help their business. But we're focused on that. We're an Australian cybersecurity centre partner. We're a Microsoft partner. So we have those relations. We have those foundations built, and we come in and account for the things that need to be accounted for from a policy point of view as well.
So for the layman out there who is when you say like a fully serviced, like what are some like specifically? And again, you can go into as much or as little detail with this, but what are the types of services that small to medium businesses actually require in the IT space?
Well, you need actively managed services. So, you're going to have problems. No matter what you do as a business, you're going to run into continuous problems. And I think having the hindsight and just thinking, you know what, we're going to run into these problems. We need to be prepared for this. That's, day to day what we're doing is we're coming in, we're accounting for the problems, but we're not just fixing problems. We're looking for, okay, how can we fix this and create a solution for long term? How can we come into a business and build this business up so, you know what, maybe you don't need to call us every day. Maybe, you only need to talk to us once a week. Maybe your problems, we get to the point where you're seeing something every now and then, or you only need to talk to us when you need to offboard and onboard a staff member. And that's the goal and the plan, is to create those strong and firm solutions within businesses and be that all-in-one expertise. So, you have your basic IT setup. Most people would know what their own IT setup is, but, there's more customized solutions within IT. IT is quite broad, it covers so many different things. So it's like, you could go to one company and get sorted for one IT solution, and then one company for another. Then another company has to do your website, and then you go and you have all these different places that you're touching to sort out your IT. But we focus on being, that all-in-one.
Yeah, and maybe from my perspective, where as a business we need support. So if you think about sort of financial services, and this is as much for our existing clients, but also potential clients. One of the biggest concerns when we're talking about people's money and their privacy is making sure that as the world moves from sort of, and has done over the last 20 odd years, from sort of paper-based through to cloud-based, the importance or the expectation of a professional services business like ours is that we have unbelievably tight security on client information and data, that we, there's not the compromise of, we hold, things like our clients' bank account details, their financial information, their ID requirements. All of those things are super important from a privacy point of view, and probably the things that Utilitise of recent time have sort of added into the mix of services that we require is that support on how we actually grow through IT to get efficiencies. And that's the thing that I've enjoyed, obviously, in the conversations that I've had with yourself. Like AI is obviously going to play a significant part in the future, but in our industry, in financial services, in financial planning, there's an enormous opportunity for us to create efficiencies with the client interaction, but also the administrative services that we provide. But we're financial planners. We're not IT professionals.
Yep.
And there comes a point where you actually have to lean on service providers like Utilitise to say, hey, can you help us out here? Can you help us make the most effective use of the IT resources that we have? So not only provide security, but actually provide innovation and support to grow and develop. And from my point of view, that's the big win for having you guys on board with us as partners, because it takes another one of those things that as a small to medium business, we don't have a full-time IT person in here looking after security. We're going to outsource it, and that's what you guys do.
Well, even if you had only one person, you can't account for that person to have all the different expertise needed to run and grow a sustainable business. And more in the solutions as well. As, you're talking about AI, and we want to implement AI solutions into a business. It's like cybersecurity is the foundation as well. And the thing with cybersecurity is there's ever-changing regulations, and you can't expect a small IT team and a small business to be able to keep up with those regulations. Whereas, that's what we specialize in. We're up to date with the regulations. We're taking the correct counsel. It's, we have certain security scores that we reach for each organisation, and we stick to those. And that's probably the foundation and laying the groundwork for future innovation. Is you need to have those strong cybersecurity foundations laid in place to be able to innovate in the first place. So, that's step one. And then step two is then, okay, how do we innovate? How do we take this business from where it is now to, the future? And with you guys, obviously, AI is the newest, fastest growing trend. But the potential is massive. And most people are using tools such as ChatGPT within their organization. And, you run into problems like plagiarism, IP leaks. You don't, and, especially with finance, you don't want to take any type of a risk with that. And, most businesses don't have an AI plan or AI regulations set in place because it's so rapidly evolving. But that's when we want to come in and be that expertise as well.
Okay, can I ask a couple of questions? One's a fairly simplistic one, and this is probably more geared towards an individual thinking about cybersecurity. So just for context, one of the things we see a lot, so we look after a lot of people who maybe tech and IT hasn't been at the forefront of their life, so they're kind of the baby boomers and beyond, who tend to be the people with decent amount of worth, like value. They've got a lot of money, and they're being encouraged both with banking and with their investments to do much more online. So they're sort of transacting online. From your perspective, what are some of the simple things what are the things that someone can do to ensure that they're protecting themselves? So this is, I'm going to, my mum's nearly 70, right? And she banks online, she's got investments online. How does someone who's a baby boomer, protect themselves and do the best they possibly can to look after their own cybersecurity?
Well, most people are familiar with, using a password. It's pretty universal now. If you're not using a password, well, that's step one. And for every single bank, you have to use a password. But moving on from that is making sure that you have a thing called MFA, so multi-factor authentication. And essentially what that means is, your password's one form of authentication. You put your password into your account and you're allowed in. But with MFA enabled on your account, and, every single bank should have this as a feature. I'd be highly surprised if they don't. But, setting it up so you get a code sent to your mobile number and then you have to put that in as well. Then you're allowed to get in. So someone can steal your password, but, it's nothing without your phone. And there's, other options such as security keys, which is a USB key you can plug into your computer and you can set it up so that has to be put in before you're allowed to get in. But I would emphasize using multi-factor authentication for those, individuals who are, just trying to protect their account, protect their money, vital.
Yeah, I had a client in this week. I won't disclose who, but we're helping with some online banking and apps and those types of things, getting it set up, and his password for every account that he had was the same thing. I'm talking to them about like password wallets, the likes of LastPass or the Apple Wallet. What's your thought on that? Again, I'll get to the business sec, but just for consumer at sort of consumer level, what's your view on like password wallets for security?
Yeah, that's a good one. I probably should have mentioned that as well. But I use a password wallet. I use a tool called Proton. So they have mail, calendar, a VPN for people who know what that is, and a wallet as well. I use those. I've used them for ages. They're not massive in Australia, but they're very secure. LastPass. There's heaps of different wallets. Some of them have had histories of being leaked. So if you're going to use a password wallet, do your research. But essentially, most of them work with, you make an account for that wallet. You obviously can't have that password in the wallet because you need the password to get in. So that's the password you keep as secure as possible. Make it complicated. Use multiple words, symbols.
Eden 123.
Eden 123. I don't look. There's one password that I need to remember on the daily, which is the password for the wallet, and it also has multi-factor authentication, so I have to put in the code as well. But every other password I use, good luck.
Yeah. I think the message to that inconvenience to actually, have either multi-factor authentication, or to have to remember a extended password, or to get a code sent to your phone, is absolutely worth it. So if any clients are out there, anyone that hasn't got that in place, I'd encourage them absolutely to do it. Sorry, you go.
I was just going to say, well, it's convenient not to lose all your money, so.
That's right, yeah. I couldn't agree more. On the business front, I wanted to talk a little bit about security from a business point of view, and feel free to talk about what we're doing with Burke Britton in terms of making sure that our systems sort of in the Microsoft ecosystem are secure. You mentioned some of the risks of the explosion of AI, the likes of ChatGPT, is that you would have, I know of people that are using ChatGPT or some of those other tools for confidential client information. Talk about what we're doing from a business point of view with Burke Britton to try and sort of retain everything in our own ecosystem.
Yeah, so you guys are set up with Microsoft. And that's the general gist for most businesses use Microsoft. So within that, you have a tenant, which is where all your accounts sit and all your information sits, and that's where everything's enclosed around that. So we set up the security parameters around all of that, and it protects your organization. And then we also set up different measures to create a level of access. So, certain people will have certain permissions to go in other places, but it's the idea of having the least access possible, like only the access you need. And that's really, really important when it comes to using tools like AI. So I've talked about ChatGPT. In business and in an organization, we don't want to be putting any type of personal or business information inside ChatGPT, no matter what, or any AI in general. We have, and Microsoft has come out with a tool called Copilot, which you guys are getting familiar with.
Yep.
And you could imagine, the same technology as ChatGPT, but integrated thoroughly into your organization and only in your organization. So it has the ability to search on the internet, has the ability to, from your account, reach all the documents and emails and messages that only you have access to. And that's the important part is, only you are going to be able to access it. It's not going to enable someone else to go into your organization and access some data that they're not allowed to see. And that's where having the level of access set up and configured properly from that security point of view is pivotal in being able to use this technology. But it's also, Copilot itself is secure. It's in your tenant. You can use your data. It has access to your data. That's where you can go in and you can ask questions about the business, where you could call out a document and say, hey, summarize this document. You can call out a meeting, say, hey, summarize this meeting, put it into notes. Fill out this template based on the meeting. It's going to pivot, so document creation. It's going to be massive for it. But, it's making sure the right measures and the right groundwork are put in place before you step in to use it, and moving away from using ChatGPT as an AI source.
Yeah, it is. As we're learning as a business, I start to think about there's things that really are out of our scope of expertise, and I think hopefully it's very clear from the conversations that we've had on the podcast and with clients that we take the security of our clients' information extremely serious, and we're making a massive investment in not only securing that information, but also innovating so that the end client experience is a particularly good one. One of the things that I wanted to talk about is your view on where AI, and you can talk, enough about our business now to maybe give some insight into where that might go, or just more broadly about some of the functions that AI might support in the future, or we're going to hold you to these if they don't eventuate. Maybe just some insight into and I've talked to a few clients about this of recent times. So one of the things that we're doing now is that we are, and I'm doing it right now for the podcast, is that we'll actually record a meeting. So we'll record a meeting, and to be able to sort of short circuit the sort of file noting process and the record keeping, clear action items, That's been sort of a pain point for us as a business, and we're already seeing significant traction with that. As you start to expand out from this simple pain point, what are the things that you will see that AI will solve for in businesses in the future?
So you have to think of AI as a way to save time. That's at its core utility, it saves time. Technology in general is made to save time and to create efficiencies within our day-to-day life. That's what I see as its strongest suit. And, what it's best at is data. Anything that you do with data, anything to do with information, writing, it's going to account for that. So, we don't want to, and that's where we have to be careful with things like plagiarism, with things like IP leaks. We want to, accuracy of information as well. We want to make sure we're vetting what it's doing and that it's not just doing everything for us and we're just sitting back and doing nothing. But we want to use it actively to create automations in, process flows such as creating a client note, a file note from a meeting. So, once we have the parameters set up and it's doing exactly what it needs to do each time, the actual work you're doing to get that end product, the file note, is manual. That's all it is. But now we have a tool that can come and account for that. So we have to make sure the groundwork's set up properly. We have to make sure we're doing everything in the right order. But once we have that, that's a clear example of how a process flow can be automated with AI, where before you were doing just manual work.
And it sounds pretty boring, right? For anyone out there listening, it sounds pretty boring. But what that actually means to us as a business, so practically, is as a financial advisor, I have a meeting with a client, and I might spend half an hour to an hour after that meeting summarising maybe handwritten notes. I might dictate, well, this is what we've done historically. We might be able to take that hour time and squeeze that down to maybe a 3-minute exercise of taking a transcript and some prompts to give us an even better summary of that client meeting. So what does that do for me as a financial advisor, or in any business where maybe you're client facing? It frees me up to spend more time with my clients. So in the relationship, I think, having thought about how AI rolls out, I think the big the concern for a lot of people is that AI is going to take everyone's jobs away. And my thoughts on this are that, in fact, it's a tool that will actually free us up to do what we're best at, and that is have personal interactions, client interactions, relationships, back to relationships, having relationships with people. And so that's why, we're kind of we're all in on this as a growth path for the business to create efficiencies, not so that our clients are dealing with a bot, but so that our clients are actually dealing with us more and more face to face. So we, in fact, enhance the relationship with our clients rather than detract from it. And I think it's not until you actually give people a bit of a peek under the hood about some of those efficiencies and how it will actually benefit them that you start to see just how monumental this change will be.
Well, and like you said, relationships are probably the most important thing as well. And at its core is, you were saying you're in a client meeting. Imagine none of this technology was here. You're taking notes during the client meeting. You are looking down. You're not giving them your 100%. And then afterwards, you're spending 30 minutes to an hour. We're reviewing, and then we're putting all the information we've reviewed into a template, and that's all manual. But now you're able to be there, present, face to face, have the conversation, have the discussions you need to have without looking down and being distracted, and then go onto your computer, click a few buttons, and then your template's there. Yeah. Imagine, you got, 3-4 client meetings a day. You can quantify the number in time it saves you, which is a pretty unreal thing, and it's only going to get better too. Yeah.
The other thing is the duplication of data. So one of the, again, into small business, most businesses have an issue with data integrity, and the fact that there's maybe multiple sources of the truth, so that there's duplication of, so there's my handwritten file notes, which then get given to an assistant who puts that into a document that then goes off to a paraplanner who then puts it into another system. And along that way, there's the opportunity for that data to be corrupted or to be misinterpreted. I think one of the advantages that we have where we start to have one source of the truth over time, and this will take time, is that it reduces error rate, and therefore if we reduce error rate, we reduce the need to fix things later, again freeing up time for us to do what we're great at, which is providing advice and service to our clients.
And at the end of the day, it's meant to solve for saving time. And when you get to save time in your work, you actually get to increase the value of what you do. You get to be there presently. You get to work on the higher level things that you need to work on, not waste time doing manual work repetitively where, you have something that can do that for you. You actually get to do the job that you need to do, and you can do it efficiently too. And that's, I think, going to be the biggest thing moving forward, is as AI expands and grows in its capabilities, as tools like Copilot from Microsoft grow and expand in their capabilities, there'll be more and more instances in which we can solve for workflows which are being done manually now.
What are you most excited about? Is there something that you've got your eye on that you go, I think I'm most excited about the potential for this with AI?
Well, there's a lot of things. In business and in life are two different stories.
Let's give me one of each.
Look, in business, I think the potential is going to be... The thing I'm most excited for is the opportunity to provide that value to people, provide that solution to people, into the future, as they realize, okay, this is actually really good. I actually should invest in this solution. I should invest in this new technology, or I'm not going to get left behind. Let's do this. I want people to have the best experience with it, and I want people to get the most value out of it as well. I think the most important thing, in business in general, is providing value. Otherwise, you don't have business if you don't provide value. So, and I think AI has the potential to provide a lot of value.
What about on the personal front?
There's this show I watched when I was younger. I forgot what it's called. Jimmy Neutron. That's a show.
Oh, yeah, I remember Jimmy Neutron. Yep.
I'm going to tell you a funny story. I was in grade 2, and he had a robot dog, an AI robot dog, and the robot dog, you could get in it and fly it like a rocket ship. I don't know why, but in year 2, I was a menace with the girls. I would steal my sister's toys. I'd give it to girls and, try and get their attention. But I promised a girl I was going to build her the robot dog from Jimmy Neutron. Don't know why I said that. Don't know what I was thinking. I was only 6 or 7, but maybe one day I can have the robot dog from Jimmy Neutron, and it can act like an actual dog. I don't know.
You can add it to the flamethrower glove.
Yeah. There's a bunch of ideas I wish I could play out in my head. The other one is, I don't know if you've seen the movie Interstellar. Greatest movie of all time.
Yep.
If I could have a real life Tars, the robot.
Yep.
All sold.
Yep. Tars always seemed a little bit just like a big brick. You know what I mean? Like I thought that the functionality of that robot would be, how it sort of ran. It's like just one big square block with.
Yeah, but then it could roll into all these weird things.
Yeah.
Those two, the dog from Jimmy Neutron and Tars. Yeah, if I could have one of those in the future.
Have you seen 2000: A Space Odyssey? It's an old movie.
I know what it is, but I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah, so I watched that the other day with the kids. I'd actually never seen it. It's obviously spoken about a lot. I think it's a 1960s movie, thereabouts, something like that. I think I'm right in saying that. And it's a Stanley Kubrick movie, and he did A Clockwork Orange and a bunch of others, pretty well renowned. And it starts with the evolution of man from monkeys, and all the way through to man in space. And they were talking that they had a computer, like an AI computer, which kind of blew my mind. I thought, I had my mind that like AI is only something that has really come into being in the last like few years, and you look back like 1960, like we're talking 60 years ago.
It's been around for a long time. We've got to think that, the bots that can play you in chess, that is AI. AI has been around for a very long time. Machine learning, AI is just like the buzzword that's now popular.
Yeah.
So as you were saying though.
Yeah, no, it's. I think people are just coming to that. I'm definitely just coming to that realization in the last probably 5 years that this is the evolution of something that's actually been taking place over decades, like all over a century. Like this, it's just the constant evolution of building of technology and machine learning to give us what we actually see today as ChatGPT and.
A way to view AI is when you think about AI, it's artificial intelligence. What does that mean? Well, we look at it as human intelligence, and we're looking at mimicking human intelligence. So with that logic, anything that mimics human intelligence could be considered as AI. Like think about a self-checkout, right? It's trying to mimic the grocer, and they have eyes. They're looking for if you try and sneak a grocery in, and now there's cameras using machine learning that are tracking all the groceries and can see what you put in. It's like it's everywhere. I think people kind of just associate it with ChatGPT and large language models, which is what those things are. So
that's kind of just the buzz marketing word for the mass population so they can understand it, yeah?
Yeah, I would say so. AI can be a lot of different things, but the large language models, which are things like ChatGPT, are the AI that have got everyone's attention. Yeah. But it's all around us. It's technology. It's integrated. And, I think as time moves on, it'll get more and more integrated into what we already have.
Yep. Are you optimistic about what that looks like in the future, or are you pessimistic? Because I know there's plenty that are maybe think on the sort of the dark side of AI. Where do you sit?
Look, I think there's things that's happened in history that people have been like, oh, this is going to turn out badly, this is going to do this or this, but we're still here. You can view it in that pessimistic way, but realistically, it hasn't happened yet. We have the ability to control where it goes. And I think, having the mindset and the frame, future looks bright. The future will be bright for us, and we have the potential to do all these things. We start small. We start with these small solutions like in business, and we'll see it integrated into our lives. I think, the important thing throughout that is as it gets bigger is not losing who we are as humans. We're still going outside. We're still experiencing relationships. We're still invested into ourselves and our growth. We don't just, take a back seat and be like, no, this robot's going to, take me all the way. It's a tool for humanity, and I think it should be used as such, and I think it will be. Obviously, bad actors have always existed and will always exist. It will be used for bad, and it will be used in war, it will be used in all these different places. But, as with technology, that's just going to be something we have to face as we grow with this technology. And I think we can. I think we will.
Yeah, I do too. I think I think the optimistic version of this for me is that probably, as I said, in business, the expansion of it freeing up time to spend more time on relationships is that it actually frees us up more to spend more time in life experiencing all the wonderful things that that we can do, travel, experience nature. I think that's the very optimistic version. I think that's the way I would lean, is that yes, there'll be some bad actors, as you said, but if we can think about responsible use of AI and how it actually frees us up to spend more time on the things that we actually want to do, and life's short, it really is. I think that's what we should be focused on. Mate, you mentioned a couple of things to me when we first caught up. Some interesting, I don't know whether you're happy to talk about this or not, but I'll ask you, some interesting use cases for AI that you use for yourself. You mentioned something about a Bitcoin or cryptocurrency?
Things I've tinkered with. I think someone said this to me the other day, and this is a world I can't speak on because I'm very much a learner, but the investment world and the finance world, the people going into finance and trading are software engineers now. That's what it's turning into. So I've toyed around with using ChatGPT and automations to try and get updated stats on whether I should invest on something or not invest, and it works to an extent, but I think it the thing it's doing for me personally is giving me room to be utterly creative, to have an idea and play that idea out instantly. What I'll usually do is, I'll get an idea and you can actually talk to ChatGPT. I can do an example if you want.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll get it out shortly. But you can flourish out ideas, because you got to think of it this way. It's this tool is I forgot where I've seen this, but it's predicted that estimated that ChatGPT's current IQ is sitting at a level of 150, right? So we literally have access to genius level information with a bunch of context and the world's knowledge behind it. It's probably the most valuable tool ever created.
It's insane.
I know, and you can speak to it like a person. So it's a little bit scary, but think of it like a way to be creative, a way to flourish out your ideas, and a way to enact on them too. We're bound by knowledge, but we're in a world where knowledge is literally at our fingertips. I think use it. We can get an example. Do you have
while you're doing that? Like I've used, for example, story time for the kids. Right, I'll ask the kids, what do you want to hear a story about? We'll actually give it some prompts. I want to hear a story about chickens in Batesford and Alfie going to the moon, and our ideas then come out in a bedtime story that the kids will listen to. You go for it.
I think I got one. It's assuming it's actually going to connect to the internet. Give me a story about how Jay became the biggest finance business leader in the world and his rise to power.
Once upon a time in a bustling city, there lived a man named Jay. Starting from humble beginnings, Jay had an insatiable curiosity for the world of finance. He spent countless hours studying market trends, economic theories, and investment strategies, all while working multiple jobs to support his education. Jay's big break came when he landed a junior analyst.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good listen.
Seems like we got cut off.
But it's pretty cool what you can do, and I think the key term, and you said this before, is responsible use of AI. I think you need to, especially within business. Going back to laying the groundworks, cybersecurity becomes your best friend. But yeah, I think it's worth using over not using, and I think it will be instrumental in the future. And for people, I think it's just going to be about, how do I get from here, which is, I don't know what this is, I don't know how it works, to I use this every day, but I'm not sacrificing my own ability. I'm using it to promote my own work and my own work ethic, and freeing up time as well.
Yeah. Obviously, when I listen to my kids talking about AI at school, the schools are very pointed about making sure that kids don't use AI for plagiarism purposes. My view on it for the kids is that exactly what you've said, that it actually should open up their curiosity. It actually should give them not a shortcut, but the opportunity to actually delve into areas that maybe they wouldn't otherwise have been able to delve into. They've got they've got a genius in their pocket that they can ask questions or have some of their own thoughts critiqued or challenged. So I think many more positives than negatives in that regard.
Well, we obviously, people like Albert Einstein are long gone, but imagine now you can open up your phone and say, hey, pretend you're Albert Einstein and teach me this. Sit down and I'm going to ask you questions and you're going to give me the answers as if you were Albert Einstein. I think that's such a powerful tool. When you're talking about learning and in school, it's, a lot of kids are using it to cheat their way through school and to get through school, but you have a genius in your pocket. You can use it to have the best teacher in the world just right there. And it will never replace a human. I think that's the important thing is, here is to make it clear that relationships are still the most important thing, and they should be. But it's an amazing tool, and it should be used as such.
Mate, I'm mindful of time. I said I'd get you out of here. We've probably gone a little bit over time, but can I end with a couple of rapid fire questions?
Go for it.
They don't have to be rapid fire answers, but talking about education, is there a piece of advice that you've been given in your life, either financially, personally, business-wise, that resonates with you, that you implemented? If so, what was it?
It's a tough one. I get so much advice from all the people I ask questions from. I wouldn't say it's one line of advice, but more just like a generic response or a generic accumulation of the different advice I get. You have to do what makes you happy, but more so what fulfills you. You have to go in that direction. That is probably going to be family. Family's included in that. I think whether you like it or not, family is always a part of that equation. But beyond just happiness as well, just beyond just the immediate, self-gratification, I'm happy. I think the most important thing is the pursuit of giving value to others and helping people. In line with doing something that you find interesting, I don't think there's a better combination.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. When you talk about happiness, I've used this. It's in a similar vein that happiness as a goal on its own is not a great goal. Resilience is probably, because if your aim is to be happy all the time, you're going to be endlessly disappointed.
Yes.
If your goal is to be resilient, then you'll recognise that happiness is, it can be fleeting, and then you'll have difficult times. But you have the resilience to actually work through those, and this is applicable across our personal life, across our business lives, across our family lives. I think that idea of building resilience, and sort of back to how we try to embed some of those principles in kids as they grow up. We talked, I don't know whether it was off air or when we started recording, about what kids sometimes use as a crutch to as an excuse for maybe not succeeding or not achieving. I think the thing that we can actually teach our kids is resilience.
Yes. Yeah.
Good or bad, life's going to throw plenty of different things at you. In business, good or bad, you're going to get things thrown at you, and it's the resilience that will see you through.
And failing is part of the journey. You should fail. If you're not failing, then you're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
And when happiness is your level of your measurement on how your life's going, you're going to be under and up and under and up. You're going to fall below the bar so many times that you'll question, I'm not happy. I'm not having a good life. But I think life should be up and down. And I think hard work and dedication and things like family are the most important thing. And having a strong resilience too, vital.
Mate, I think that's a good way to close this one out. I want to just, before we do, just re-emphasise the importance of, let's talk about the business Utilitise IT. Where can people, if they want to get a hold of Utilitise, they've got a business and they want to get in touch with you and the team, where do they find you?
So they can go to LinkedIn, or they can search up utilitiseit.com.au. I'm going to spell that one out though, because
everyone will say utilise.
Utilise, correct. It's even I do it. utilitiseit.com.au.
Beautiful.
And the play on words is, utilising IT. IT is a utility.
Yeah, and if you have we'll put the emblem in the IT in the middle of it, is emphasised. Mate, I've loved the conversations that we had when we first met. I've enjoyed this one. Likewise. And if you're happy to, we'd love to have you back on for a round 2. I'm sure there's plenty of other things that we can do a deep dive into, but I think this was a great one to get a bit of background on you, Utilitise, and the way you think about the world and how you support us. So
thank you.
Thanks to you and your team for supporting us so far. I look forward to a long and fruitful relationship together. Thanks again.
Likewise. Thank you.
We hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you're keen to understand more about how financial advice could benefit you, follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at Burke Britton FP, or Google Burke Britton Financial Partners. Check out our client reviews, testimonials, and make a time to meet one of our certified financial planners by clicking Book Now on our website. Thanks for listening.
Any information contained in this podcast is of a general nature only. No account was taken as to the objectives, financial situation, or needs of any particular person. Therefore, before making any decision, listeners should consider the appropriateness of any information with regard to their particular objective, financial situation, needs, and seek independent advice from a licensed professional specific to their circumstances.
All right, hit it.
That translates to don't be a moron and act on what some random person says on a podcast. Take personal responsibility, do your homework, ask questions, and speak to an actual human that knows what they're talking about before you do anything. PP Financial Solutions Proprietary Limited, trading as Burke Britton Financial Partners, are authorised representatives of AMP Financial Planning Limited, AFS, licence number 232706.